Hello and welcome to Abidjan. Welcome to an exclusive France 24 interview with Laurent Gbagbo, the former president of the Ivory Coast and the chairman of a new political party, the African People Party in Ivory Coast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, this is the very first time that you are giving an interview since you've returned to Ivory Coast and, in fact, since you've returned to politics. 40 years ago, you created the Ivorian Popular Front. In creating this new political party, are you breaking away from the past, or was this a necessary step to move on?
Well, it is always a break from the past when you are forced to start things again from scratch. But it was necessary. It was necessary because upon my return, I no longer recognized the political parties that we had been building up for such a long time, that we'd been building up ever since 1982. And we had to go back with the same ideas, with the same strength, the same momentum that had been with us in the past to build the new party. And that's exactly what we did.
There was a missing face at the Congress, Simone Gbagbo. Does that mean that, as of now, there's a political schism between you, or do you hope that she will join your group later on?
Ask her. Ask her. I am going to move forward. I am moving forward in life. A party is made of those people who adhere to that party. So it is made of those people who wish to adhere to that party.
Do you hope, maybe?
Well, obviously, I would hope for everyone to adhere to our party and be a member. That's always when you create a new party, you always want people to embrace and be on board, but you can't always have everyone because then you would end up with a single party. But for me, anyone who adheres is a member.
Alassane Ouattara, the 7th of July, you met him for the very first time, the first official meeting in over a decade. My understanding is that you are in regular communication. Do you think that you're going to meet again at a point in the future? There's a lot to talk about.
I do hope that we will be able to meet in the near future. It would be a meeting during which we will be able to set down new goals, new objectives. For me, reconciliation isn't just a slogan. Reconciliation is not a slogan.
What would that look like, though? A national dialogue, maybe? It's the term that comes up a lot.
Who knows? Who knows? It really all depends on what the head of state will bring forward as a system to work within. But I think we need to deal with the past, draw a line in the sand, so that we can move forward.
My understanding is that during the meeting on the 27th of July, you brought up Guillaume Soro. You asked for him to be able to return, and apparently the president refused categorically. Do you confirm that?
No, you misheard.
I wasn't there, but...
Well, you weren't there, but whoever heard that, well, they misheard, or they misquoted.
So tell us.
Well, I really have nothing to say. There's a lot that has been said about many cases, including what happened with Guillaume Soro, and there's neither no nor yes at play here. President Ouattara raised the issue of Guillaume Soro.
Do you want him to come back?
Of course. I want the Constitution to be applied. In our Constitution, it is written that no Ivorian will ever be forced into exile. That's what the Constitution says. Now we just need to apply it. If that was written down in the Constitution in the first place, it's in the text, it's because it reflects what so many people in Ivory Coast think and want.
There's another issue here, and it's something that you brought up in your closing speech at the Congress. It's your sentence to 20 years of prison in the Central Bank of West African States heist. You said that you refused the sentence, and it might not be that simple, because that sentence still stands. Are you expecting Alassane Ouattara to throw out that sentence?
I have no expectations. I have no expectations of him.
But it is a Damocles sword over your head, right?
It's not a Damocles sword above my head. I have no expectations. I never robbed a bank. I actually laughed. I laughed. I thought, this is just a bad joke. People aren't going to force me to admit that which is inadmissible.
There's another topic that's at issue here. It's something that you've spoken on, or at least everyone's gathered it from what you've said. It's this project to set an upper age limit for people running for president, setting that at 75 years old. It's something that existed back in the Constitution in 2000. That limit was then removed in a subsequent constitutional reform, and that would mean that that rule would rule out Alassane Ouattara, Henri Konan-Bédié, and yourself from running again for another presidential election if you so desired.
I'm against it.
Because you see this as a way to rule you out.
No, I think it's just outdated. It's so outdated. We are civilized, we are well-raised people, and you can't just sideline a candidate because of their age. Joe Biden is older than I am.
In your speech, you said two things. You said that you would be a politician until you die. It's you and you alone who will decide how that is. And then at the end of your speech, you said something that intrigued a lot of the activists out there. You say that what you want to do is to leave. It's almost like you're saying one thing and then the opposite.
No, it's because I'm misunderstood.
Oh, tell us.
Okay, so I am in politics, and being in politics doesn't mean being the head of the PPA. Do you see what I'm saying? So I am in politics as head of the party, but I can also be in politics without being head of the party. That's what I'm trying to say. I was never a grassroots political activist. Ever since 1982, I have been involved in politics as the leader, either as head of party or secretary general. Later on, I became president. And after a certain time, it's exhausting, and then it becomes too tiring to take on all of that responsibility of being a party leader.
So you'd like to see...
Well, yes, I would like to see me stepping out of the political arena, and obviously in different ways that I won't cover here today.
So moving away from leading the party, maybe, appointing a number two.
Okay, so yes, it means I would step down from leading the party. Someone else could take over head of the party, but it doesn't mean I'm stepping outside of politics altogether.
Okay, well, you can imagine the question that I'm about to ask you. Everyone knows that there's that date coming up. It might change, but 2025 is going to be the next presidential election in Ivory Coast.
Yes.
Are you not going to run?
Who knows? Who knows? As I have said in the past. But again, I was misunderstood again back at the time. Is that I have filled every role. In politics, I was in the opposition. I was then president. And I also wrote a lot. I wrote a lot on what had to be done. I wrote what had to be done for Ivory Coast to be able to break into full development. And I'm going to continue to write. But what now?
Et je l'ai dit,
And actually, this is something I have
en
said.
1940,
Back in
quand De
1940,
Gaulle était dans l'avion
when de Gaulle was sitting in the plane,
qui l'amenait, qui le
in the
menait
plane
à
that was
Londres,
taking him to
il ne
London,
pensait pas qu'il allait devenir
he wasn't
président.
thinking that he was going to go on to become the president of
Il
the
y
French
avait
Republic.
moments où
There are
certaines
times
charges
in
s'imposent à vous.
life where destiny is written for you.
You're not ruling it out. Saying you don't know means maybe yes, maybe no. You could very well tell me, I'm stepping down today. I've already been there.
Voilà, c'est-à-dire
So I guess that's exactly it. If the circumstances change, and if circumstances would have it that we would have the best chances of winning without me as head of the party, then we will support the person who is best fit.
So if the circumstances
avec vous,
meant that
avec moi,
they'd,
eh ben,
they'd be more likely to win with you.
je n'ai
Well, then, yes, if it was with me as head of the party, why not? I'm not ruling out anything. And that's exactly what I said.
What you don't want is to be ruled out because of an age limit, right?
je refuse.
No, I refuse that as a notion. I would not want anyone to decide for
Je
me.
refuse ça. Et
I refuse that categorically.
c'est peut-être parce que je refuse cela
And I
que j'ai
think
fait cette
that
carrière.
is because this is exactly how I led my political career.
So, refusing. You mentioned the issue of presidential terms.
Yes.
This is a controversial topic here in Ivory Coast, but let's start with here. Alassane Ouattara ran for a third term. He said that he didn't want to, but it was due to the death of, due to disease of his number two, Amadou Gon Coulibaly, that his hand was forced and he had to run a third time. Do you believe he violated the constitution? He says no.
Oh, je parle pas de...
Oh, I'm not going to be talking about the passing of Amadongo. He was actually one of my ministers.
Mais je pense que le problème en Afrique,
I think that the problem that we have in Africa is that we don't uphold
texte
the legal
qu'on
texts
écrit.
that we draft,
En Côte d'Ivoire,
be it Ivory Coast,
au Mali,
in Mali,
en Guinée.
or in Guinea.
Les textes,
When we draft legal texts,
on écrit des textes
it seems
pour
that we're
imiter
just doing it to copy the Westerners,
pour les imiter.
just as a way of imitating what they
Pour
do.
agir, on
But when it
agit,
comes to
on
actually
agit comme
acting,
on veut.
we do as we wish.
Je ne suis pas dans cette logique, moi.
But that's not how I think. When we draft law,
Quelque chose. Quand on écrit
when we
une
draft a
constitution,
constitution,
quand on écrit une loi,
when we draft legal texts, we have to uphold them.
Yeah, but you know the counter-argument, you change a constitution, it resets everything.
c'est justement tout ça.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. People haven't abided by the law.
So,
Oui,
Mr.
oui,
Ouattara
mais
didn't comply with the
quoi ça sert
constitution.
aujourd'hui de le dire?
Well, yes, what's the point of saying it, though?
Well, it's worth saying, but let me come back to another question, because you gave some examples and we'll come back to those. But fundamentally, all of these issues related to term limits, being reset or not, do you feel that this poisons African democracies?
Je vais dire une chose. Je vais
I would like to just say something on that.
Because it encourages coup d'etats in some way.
Je suis pour la limitation du
I am
mandat.
in favor of a two-term limit.
Je suis pour
Point
ça.
final.
Bon.
And that's the end of it.
Mais
Yes, that
les
said,
gens ne sont pas obligés
you may have people who
de
are
la limitation
against
des mandats.
limiting it to two terms.
Il y a des pays
There are countries in which
on ne limite pas les mandats.
there is no such limit to political terms.
Et donc, écoutez, la chancelière
I
allemande,
mean, take the German Chancellor, for
elle a fait
example.
16 ans.
She was in power for 16 years.
Elle a fait 16 ans.
Non, mais dans les pays où
16
il y a une
years.
limitation,
But in the countries where there is a term limit,
Qui ne lui
Sorry.
reproche
Well, what she
parce qu'elle n'a
is being
rien violé.
criticized for is not for her terms.
Elle n'a violé aucun texte.
She didn't go against any legal document, any
Ici.
law.
Ce qu'on a reproché à
And-
Oufou-Boigny,
What Ufubani is being
c'est
criticized
pas
for,
d'avoir
it's
fait 33
not because
ans
he
de
was
présidence.
in presidency for 33 years.
C'est d'avoir fait le parti unique.
It's because he was head of a single party.
Mais sinon, lui, il n'avait pas limité les mandats.
But he was in that position because there was no limit on terms.
il continuait.
So, without a limit on terms, he just kept on sitting as president. And that's why we need to be rational.
La démocratie, c'est
It
ça
is what
aussi.
democracy is all about.
On adopte des
So we
textes.
have
On n'est
laws
pas
that are in
obligé
place.
de mettre deux mandats.
And we don't have to put in a
Mais une fois qu'on a
two-term
mis
limit,
deux mandats,
but once there is that
respectons
limit, then we have to uphold that limit.
Si on ne veut pas
If
faire deux
people
mandats,
don't want to
on
have
ne
two
met pas
terms,
les deux
then
mandats dans le texte.
put it in the text.
Okay, the French president traveled to Chad after the death of Idriss Déby in a way that seems to legitimize a transition of dynasty. Some people saw this as unequal treatment based on the virulent criticism that was leveled against the Mali coup d'états.
It's not my issue.
Le président français fait ce
The
qu'il veut,
French
voilà.
president does as he sees fit.
J'ai pas compris.
But I really didn't understand what happened there.
Ça, je laisse au
But
président
I will
français
let the French president do what he
de faire ce
sees
qu'il a à
to be the
faire.
best fit.
La présence française
The
militaire
French military presence in Africa now. Do you feel that it's time to question that presence? We've seen it in Mali. We know that there's a French military base here, as you very well know. Is it now time to question that presence? Is it maybe time to send the soldiers home?
It's something I've always questioned.
Mr. Ouattara closed it. Do you think that he should send the soldiers home?
Parce que on aura
Well, it's not
demandé
because
de fermer les bases
that we
militaires
want to
françaises
close
qu'on est
down
contre
French military
la
bases in France
coopération
that
avec
we
la
are
France.
against cooperating with
Mais
France.
l'heure
But, that said,
d'avoir des bases
the
militaires
time
étrangères
for having foreign military bases in Ivory Coast is a bygone era.
est passée.
That time is now past.
Dans une heure
We are living in a time where we have to move towards more independence,
plus de coopération
a move towards more
interafricaine.
inter-African cooperation.
C'est ça qui est le problème.
That is what we need to work towards.
Let's come back to the 31st of March of this year. I'm sure you remember the date.
Of course.
à la Cour pénale internationale.
You were at the ICC, you were cleared.
On se souvient de votre visage.
We remember your face. What was going on in your head?
J'ai d'abord fait ça.
That's what I did.
Ça, on a compris.
We saw that.
Oui, oui.
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember that.
Je ne sais pas.
But what about your head?
C'est pas dans ma tête. qu'il
Well, it's
faut
not
chercher,
what's in my head that we will find the
c'est dans
answers.
la réalité.
It's when we look to what's in the real world.
Parce que ce procès-là,
For me, that trial,
pour moi, c'est une forfaiture.
it was a form of forfeiture.
Votre co-accusé
Okay, your co-accused, Charles Bligoudet,
à sa libération,
after being freed,
il a demandé,
he
France 24 notamment,
went on France 24 and other places to ask for forgiveness. He asked for forgiveness from the victims and he asked for forgiveness from the Ivorian people because, just as you, he was cleared of the worst crimes, but some crimes did stick. There were 3,000 people who died,
Oh, more than 3,000.
maybe more.
Et donc,
Many, many more.
est-ce que vous aussi, vous demandez
Do you
pardon
also want to ask for forgiveness because you were responsible?
I'm not
Je suis
Charles
Laurent
Bigloudet.
Gbagbo,
I'm Laurent
ancien
Gbagbo,
président de la République de
former
Côte d'Ivoire.
president of Ivory Coast.
Je ne dis pas, je ne parle pas comme Charles
So-
Bigloudet.
I wouldn't say such things about Charles Bligoudet.
Voilà. Les problèmes qui se posaient
The problems at play here for
et qui se
Ivory
posent
Coast
encore
and that are
sont des
still
problèmes
present today
graves.
are very serious problems.
Il ne faut pas s'amuser avec.
We mustn't deal with them
Il faut les mettre
lightly.
sur la table,
We must deal
les
with them,
discuter,
we must discuss them,
dégager les
we must
responsabilités des uns
find
et des autres
those people who are responsible and hold them accountable and take
au
decisions.
niveau de l'État.
We
pour
need to
avancer.
take decisions at the state level to be able to move forward.
Oui, je demande pardon.
I'm not here to say who needs to be forgiven or
que
not.
les victimes attendent ça, monsieur.
Maybe that's what the victims want.
Les victimes
No, the
attendent
victims,
qu'on règle, qu'on
they want
discute
us
les
to
problèmes
deal with the
et
problems,
qu'on voit quels sont les
to find who are those who
C'est ça.
are to be held accountable. That's what the victims
On
want.
prend Gbagbo,
So they came after me, Gbagbo. They came after Bligoudet and took us off to The Hague.
Who's they?
Nicolas Sarkozy,
Nicolas
par
Sarkozy?
exemple, il fait partie de ça.
For example,
Puis c'est celui qui a bombardé ma maison.
he bombed my home.
C'est lui qui a bombardé
He bombed
la
the
résidence
presidential palace
présidentielle de-
in Ivory
vous
Coast.
tuez.
Was he trying to kill you?
Ça, je sais pas ce qu'il a
I don't know. I don't know what he was trying to
Mais
do.
il sait qu'il a bombardé.
But I do know that he bombed my home. He sent tanks, military tanks from the French army to my home to take me in like just a common criminal. And I wondered, deep down, what is France doing here? What is France doing in an issue of electoral upheaval in Ivory Coast? But who knows?
Do you still believe you won in 2010? Or the result? It's not even that?
It's no longer an issue. No, it's no longer an issue because simply we can't backtrack. We have to move forward. We move forward. And I know how to move forward.
Do you forgive Alassane Ouattara?
I forgive everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you for answering the questions here on France 24, and thank you at home for watching this interview. Please stay tuned for more information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.